Hello, guys, and welcome to the first video, How to Be a Film Snob podcast. If you're listening online, then it's still just an audio. We can't change that. Anyways, we're trying this new thing, so this is the first time we've videoed all three of us. We'll see how it goes from here, but it's a nice little, a little foray into the 2023. Today's movie is City Lights, performed by Charlie Chaplin, produced by Charlie Chaplin, and directed by Charlie Chaplin. Even the score was written by Charlie Chaplin. So this one was a fun one because we had a little debate about, Buster Keaton versus Charlie Chaplin and who is the ultimate king of the silent movie. You'll see us go spar back and forth. It gets a little heated between me and Pat, for us. But we hope you guys enjoy our look into Charlie Chaplin's City Lights. Enjoy, and good luck being a movie snob.
It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
I love you.
I know.
Go! Get to the chopper!
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
I see dead people.
Milk was a bad choice.
Hello and welcome to the How to Be a Film Snob podcast. Today we have the threesome, and we're cousins. That's not a good way to start. We have from sunny Seattle area.
Hey.
Hey, Pat.
Me, Pat.
Hey,
Yeah.
Pat.
I guess you're in Seattle.
It's me, the phone one.
The phone. Not the phony, the phone one. And in the studio live and ready to relive this amazing wonder,
Me, Mariah.
Miss Mariah.
I'm here.
All right, folks. Well, welcome to another week. We are, although it's ironic, we're talking because the last two movies are not talking. We are doing another silent classic, one of the best movies of all time, according to almost every list. But no more Buster. We're moving on to the man, the myth, the face, Mr. Charlie Chuck Chaplin. And the movie is
City Lights.
City Lights.
City Lights. A classic. So, first of all, we just got to talk about this movie is a silent movie, but really it's not a silent movie.
It's not a silent era movie.
And it's not
For
actually
one.
even a silent movie because there was no longer
Score.
a score, or they didn't even have piano players at the theaters anymore. So this couldn't. So
Yeah,
this
the score
actually
was in the movie.
Oh, so it actually has. It was in the theater playing like because this came out in 1931, 4 years after The Jazz Singer. And let's see, what was the last movie we watched? The General came out in 1926. So we got 5 years after that. So this is Charlie Chaplin saying kind of,
I don't want to.
I don't care.
I'm not ready.
He's British, so he's doing his two fingers up at the man. He's like, I'm not doing silence, but I'm gonna use your technology, because I was really confused, and we'll talk about that later about some of the sounds. I'm like, this is a weird silent film compared to like Nosferatu and the other ones.
He packaged it
Yeah.
the way a regular film would have been made, but
So
still chose not
love
to.
story and pantomime, or
so
whatever
yeah.
the initial credits are.
And you got to give him credit because this 1931 classic killed it at the box office, killed it with all the movie snobs. No, with all the critics. I could not think of the word critic to save my life. And it is arguably Charlie Chaplin's best movie. And it takes place before World War II, after World War I, kind of in this sweet spot where there's nothing crazy going on right now.
Well, except the Great Depression.
And the Great Depression is going on, obviously, But for theater and for him, who's doing quite well financially, there's no war that's going to take him away from this.
Unbelievably well.
Yeah, unbelievably
Right.
well.
There's rumblings yet.
Oh, it's crazy. So we know what's coming and we know what's been, but right now we just got to talk about what is, and it is through the time of the Depression that probably why these movies played so well. So now that we have a little backstory, we'll get into more of that later, I'm sure. But our great summarizer.
Ooh, I'm going to summon Mariah this.
Oh, that's why I get the big bucks.
That's right. That's why you take point. Yeah, this movie, and I looked here to see what city this takes place in. It doesn't say. It's in a city.
So
The city.
I was reading about the costume designer. Sorry, I'm going left
City
field
that
already.
Chaplin built.
It literally was meant to replicate like Paris, New York, and that's how they described it. It's a little
big
bit
city.
Mm-hmm, and it has the feelings of many of the big cities.
It did. And so, yeah, now as I'm reflecting back and also looking to see if it said, like, it was a big city. Do I remember any, like, landmarks? No.
5 or 6 locations. There's corner. There's stairs.
Yeah.
There's mansion from one angle.
And
Yeah.
we got the Newsies on the corner. Yep.
Yeah. So the movie takes place in a city, and it opens with a kind of blowhard of a mayor type fella dedicating some statues.
So good.
And finally the unveiling happens, and here's the tramp sleeping in the arms of one of the statues, and some shenanigans ensue. There's some slapstick humor happening along the way. But anyway, this is the opening. He ends up wandering off finally after he gets evicted from the statue's arms and comes across a lady selling flowers and realizes she's without sight.
Cannot see. She's
Cannot
blind.
see, and just is instantly smitten with her. Timing happens and a door shuts, and she thinks he's a well-to-do fella coming out of a car. This starts their relationship.
Relationships start on a lie, am I right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we've all been
Always
there.
a good way.
We've all
Yeah.
been
And
there.
you can put your best foot forward if the person can't see you. Then he befriends a millionaire who's trying to off himself.
Yes. The suicide
And
humor in
becomes
this
his
movie.
best
Which I'm
friend.
not. Yeah.
Okay, so
How did this guy become a millionaire, and how did he hold on to his money? Because he
not
sure
important.
isn't an intelligent person.
well, he just
Shenanigans.
Yeah.
it's
Full
really
shenanigans. This movie.
it's
Yeah.
why you don't drink, folks. This is the movie why you don't drink. Although it's
He
hilarious.
seemed like his happiest when he was
it's
drunk.
true. It's kind of the worst.
Friendliest, most generous
Uh-huh.
types thing.
Well, I guess he was drunk at the beginning. He got both happy and suicidal every time he drank.
Well, once he found his
Yeah.
best friend,
It
he was
okay.
pretty happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But every time there was a temptation, I mean, we're getting into it. But, every time that gun showed up, he thought, well, now's a good time.
Because they never quite reveal
Oh, yeah.
what's going on there.
No.
Yeah,
No, yeah,
so-
they
so
don't they kind of set it up. He got in some letter from his
His
wife.
who's leaving. Yeah.
Yes, his wife left him. And,
That's
pretty
the
much it.
only information we have.
That's it.
But yeah, so they go on some misadventures.
She gets sick. Can't sell her flowers for a little bit.
It's not
and
COVID, folks. I bet it's the Spanish flu.
Gets a
It's
notice.
right around that time.
Gets a notice that she is behind on rent, and they're out of there if she doesn't show up with the rent. Her
Yeah.
grandma doesn't want to tell her because she's already sick.
$22.
Dang, that was a lot of money. Did you guys look up how much that was?
More than
No.
22.
I think it's like 23 in today's money. I think.
Inflation wise, it's more. But so she hides the fact from this girl, goes out and tries to sell the flowers for her, I believe.
Yeah. Grandma goes out. Grandma hits the street, if you know what I mean.
Grandma hits
But she's not a looker like her granddaughter, so
Not
no
No.
sale.
not
No.
super successful.
So
The internet tells me it's $382.
I got 483. Oh,
Well,
internet.
something like that.
Yeah,
they
well,
couldn't afford it.
But you're not getting that selling flowers. I don't-
No.
No.
In a basket, in a single basket.
Although if you get a house for $300 rent or $400 rent, that's not a bad deal. nowadays.
Yeah, we didn't see the rest of the house besides
That's true.
the
That's true.
one table.
Yeah.
I guess there's a little few of them. Anyway, then what happens?
Spoiler coming up. Warning.
Easy to get distracted.
So the tramp is out and about with his millionaire friend off and on when he remembers him. The tramp, Charlie Chaplin, finds out that the girl is in need of money and sick and visits her and
Promises he'll pay for it.
says,
like
I'm
a
going to take
sucker.
care. Says, I'm going to take care of this.
I can just say like
Don't you worry.
I'll look into this a little bit.
Yeah. So he
I'll see if I have
no
some
promise.
friends. No
Yeah.
promises here, honey.
he goes about it a few different ways.
Oh, great scenes.
I think he
coming up.
thinks he's going to go to the millionaire first. Is that right? And the millionaire doesn't recognize him at that moment.
Yep, that was a bummer.
So he gets a job.
Yep.
Doesn't do so well there. Then he finds a friend that says, we're gonna fix this fight. You're
Is
gonna
that guy
make
a friend, really?
some easy money doing
Just
this.
some guy on the side
It's
of the
a
road.
guy looking to beat somebody up on the street.
That
Yeah.
was
I mean, what was he
amazing.
going to do if Charlie didn't walk by? He was just looking for any old body.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to make $25?
Yeah.
The hard way?
It seemed like the easy way. I'm gonna make this easy on you. We're gonna this is
clean
how this
split.
fight's gonna play
Good
out.
deal.
Then
Doesn't
the
even get
cops
hurt.
show up, he realizes he's gonna get arrested, so that guy bails, and then the guy who's really gonna fight him shows up and does.
Then
More
I think
hijinks.
my
Oh,
favorite
the boxing
scene in
is
the movie.
incredible.
And
Then
he doesn't win.
No.
Goes
It's-
back to his millionaire buddy
Knocked right out.
and
He remembers him
is
at the
given
time.
money. Given money. A robbery takes place in which millionaire gets conked to then sober up immediately, not recognize the tramp. He steals the money anyway. Gives it to his lady friend. Gets
That's right.
arrested. Goes to prison.
oh,
And then
rough.
gets out. And then,
I
I don't know,
Yeah.
we don't have to spoil it yet.
Yeah.
I think we spoiled a lot. I don't
Oh,
know.
also there's a big in the news it was clear that you could pay some amount of money to get your eyes fixed. If you're
Very
blind.
nice little.
You can
Yeah.
become sighted.
And
Not-
in the same breath realizes, but if you can see, you're going to find out I'm some hobo and not a well-to-do fella.
It was nice.
So
little
maybe
touch
this
there.
isn't going to be so
And it
good for
wasn't-
me.
It wasn't the news. It was like literally just in the ads, like next to like I need to hire a guy to scoop the poop. By the way,
Yeah.
Like
Right. Yeah, just a fun fact.
next to missed connections. There's a
oh, I love that section.
That's more or less what happens.
More or less. So basically, hobo meets rich guy. A hobo meets
And-
girl. Hobo
and
meets
blind girl at
and
the
blind
same
girl at
time.
the same time, and then hijinks occur.
the occur
The liqueur.
in the city.
So going back to stuff we touched on, the use of sound in this silent film, the opening speech
Please
with the
talk
mayor
about.
and
Thank
the lady
you. Oh, I'm so glad you're going this way.
and the little like kazoo sounding, which
Wah, wah,
apparently was Charlie Chaplin. Yeah, so yeah, the Peanuts parents. Basically,
Oh my gosh! It was the teacher of Peanuts.
It was like, is that what this movie's gonna be? Like, it was interesting to be like, oh, they're really playing around with sound without it actually being
yeah.
It was kind of.
cocky.
I think it was just like him thumbing his nose at sound because it's like, oh, they're speaking. Oh, they're not speaking. Oh, what's
Yeah.
going on?
It
right
doesn't
now?
matter
Well, and
what
it's
they're
like-
saying. We can
Right.
communicate without it.
He's just proving that it's
Okay.
just flash in the pan, like Charlie said.
Maybe before we dig into some of the things, what were your
I
reactions?
was so pleasantly surprised about how watchable it was. Like I literally turned it on, and I was a couple parts like okay, but for the most part, like it held my attention nonstop. Like there was no question. Like I didn't have a second of like this is not gonna. I want to know what's happening next. So like the storyline progressed enough that I was like, oh, this is quite interesting, and I feel like you do care about the character. And I was kind of, I mean, the the millionaire was probably the character I cared the least about, but you enjoyed when the blind leading lady, and you enjoyed Charlie's character, and you were just kind of like, oh, this will be nice, and you enjoyed the scenes that they were together. I was never like bored or thought someone was not pulling up their slack, and it was just it was very watchable. I was very surprised.
I agree that it was watchable. I also feel like, for better or for worse, watching it right after The General kind of disappointed me because I really liked The General. I thought it was funny the whole time. I thought his female lead was funny the whole time. Like the story, the cinematography, all the pieces of The General were really great for me, and it made me feel like, wow, for a silent film, it really held my attention. And this was also a very good movie to me, especially being a silent film. And I didn't get lost like Nosferatu, where I'm like, oh, come on, give me another card so I can read something about what's happening here. It wasn't
Nosferatu.
exhausting, but but for me, I don't know if it might just have been not as good a story for me. But I did like it, it wasn't as funny. There wasn't as much physical stuff happening. I mean, I was just so impressed by The General, I guess.
Buster Keaton's next level. It's for sure. The stunts. It's overwhelming. It's like watching Michael Bay and then watching like the Royal Tenenbaums or something. Like, man, guess what?
Also
That's
good
better
movie,
right.
but I just was blown away before.
Yeah.
It felt so pedestrian. Like, even the opening gag with the knife up his pants, right? Like, that's cute. Mm-hmm. But, like, it didn't really go anywhere. I kind of felt like a lot of the gags, certainly with the falling in the river over and over, it's like, that's okay. It was never as big or as well done as I felt like almost any Buster Keaton was.
Yeah. He didn't crash a train. He didn't blow up a bridge.
See, and I was actually surprised of how watchable that first scene was. Like, with the hat. And like that was the
It was charming, and he's constantly saying hi to everybody.
Because
he's a very charming guy.
It's like comparing like rock and roll to like an acoustical guitar number or something. Like it was.
Well, yeah, this was I feel like The General was all comedy and.
High
City
risk.
Lights
High
for
risk
me
comedy.
had the drama. It had a lot more like subtle emotional stuff, and the acting was amazing. I mean, they got the story across great. It was lovely, sweet. I love the blind girl. The millionaire was entertaining to me.
Well, fun fact. Maybe getting to that too early.
No.
Her first acting job.
Yep.
Picked out of a audience in a boxing match because Charlie Chaplin was into her because he likes him young. We can get into that later.
Yeah. That's it.
And she did it well because she was nearsighted.
Yes,
so
exactly right.
Focus.
So, yeah. But yet they still hated working together, and she still got fired, and then she came back because it's so terrible.
Double pay or something. It was pretty great.
And I have to say too, the end of the movie, that whole scene, that was really sweet too. So the movie, it's not that it was without redeemable quality. It was a good movie.
Yeah. I'd seen The Great Dictator. I think it was the first Charlie Chaplin movie I watched.
Wow.
And
that's the big one.
Yeah, it's the big one. That's why I watched it in college for film class.
Over
I
City Lights. What a terrible film class.
Yeah, I recall liking that. But I felt like this one, it was good. I think I just was a little underwhelmed throughout. And again, I think the spectacle of The General is so big that it plays today, whereas this felt very tame and it kind of, to me, like even that opening scene, it's like, what are we establishing in this scene? That he's a tramp, I guess, and then he's a lovable little scrap. But it was like, what does the statue have to do with anything, right? It just felt like it didn't matter because this movie wasn't scripted. right? And so
None of Charlie's are.
it was just like, hey, here's a cute scene, and each of them work in that way. But I think as a movie, I was struggling a little bit. It was like, come on,
Oh, really?
let's get to the next thing. Outside of the dinner dance hall, which I thought their repeated like
That was
"I'm gonna fight
great.
you and
That
taking
was
your coat
great.
something was amazing, and the boxing scene was like amazing. Both those are like, wow, these
Huh.
I also
these
like
speak
the
to my
river.
Looney Tune.
I liked the
you
river
know.
scene too.
You did like the river scene. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, that got the
I-
first actor fired for the river
Right,
scene.
he wouldn't jump.
He
in
wouldn't
the
jump
water.
in the river.
Or
so
you know,
he's
he
like,
wanted it. He wanted
"You're
the
out."
daylight.
So
Yeah,
funny.
he wasn't willing to jump into the freezing water. Do you hear
Come
this?
on.
Don't
Here's
deserve
four.
that. I do hear that pour. It's nice.
So
I'm
So
surprised.
yeah, I liked it, but I didn't love it.
Huh. So I feel like I'm almost the opposite of you guys because like I thought because the subtleties were just like as a whole unit, I felt the subtleties were better than the general because Buster Keaton's subtleties are great, but the rest of it is not.
Oh yeah,
So I
Right.
felt like this was, and obviously because Charlie is literally like telling everyone, do that scene again, do that scene again, do that scene again until he likes it.
well,
But
evidently he would act out of the roles, and then
Very-
say, "Do what I just did."
very Walt Disney of him. I mean, very Walt
Yeah.
Disney of him. So yeah, that's
And I thought it was well made. I think the other thing that's interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong,
you're wrong.
almost all the camera work were still shots. I don't think it felt very stage play where here's our shot and we're going to stick on the shot the entire time. We
Yeah.
don't pull in, we don't move, we're
Right.
not panning.
Right.
It felt very static, the movie. Where again, the
Deliberate.
general,
Deliberate.
you're flying around on trains, there's a lot going on. That there was always a lot of motion, and this felt
thought.
like little vignettes.
Mm-hmm.
It felt very vaudeville-y, here's my little scene. And again, I think in a lot of ways that works. It just it dragged for me a little bit, I think, because it's like, all right, and here we are in this mansion scene again, and they're gonna do their little shtick with the chairs. Again, like I think that's appropriate.
Now I'm
Like,
reliving that shtick. It was good.
That was great.
you're framing
That's so annoying.
you're framing the action, right? Like they're being really good about
Pat is an action guy.
making sure we see everything. But I think the difference, like Buster Keaton again, is like feeding into the Jackie Chan
Yeah,
thing,
he's
where
doing
everything's super clear, even though everything's dynamic.
he's
Yeah, yeah.
I
doing
think
the
this was like everything's
acting.
really clear at the expense of dynamics.
Yeah, he's doing the acting while the action is happening and is still pulling it off. So yeah, there's a little bit of disappointment there. And normally, like your description, setting the stage and then just focusing on the acting. Normally, that's what I would have been attracted. Like movie wise, I would probably have been more into that than an action movie where they're doing all the things. It's super busy.
I'm sorry it's not kung fu enough for you two. Jeez Louise. You guys, I tell you. Flashing lights
Well, I
and
think
kung
even-
fu.
But in this
moving
instance,
cameras.
I
Just
feel like it
enjoy
wasn't
the
as
art, you two.
Yeah,
Ugh.
I know.
I'm the only one who's
Yeah.
a real
But I
movie
do
lover, I
agree,
guess.
The ensemble is much better in this movie. Like, I actually really liked The Millionaire. The drunk acting, all like
Yeah,
that worked for me.
that was fun.
I liked kind of how silly it was,
And
again,
he
like
was
that,
committed. He was committed to that role.
The dance hall stuff and the
Oh, that was
choreography around the
incredible.
chairs and
Yeah.
the coats was all super great. And again, like I think there's really high points in the movie,
Yeah.
but like I didn't care at all for their romance. Like I don't care. Like because honestly, he started, and we'll go back to the beginning. Like he was very pervy out of the gate with the whole like naked statue scene, which I did think was
just
funny.
art. It's just art. That's super judgy,
I
Pat.
did, and I kind of did. I didn't, even now I was like, "What's going on with this elevator? Like,
And-
it's going down and up."
The art was
Like I couldn't figure out the logic of that gag. But anyway,
It was a little
did
long,
love-
but it was funny.
I loved when the big guy, came up a little bit, and he's like, I'm a tough guy, and then he came up all the way, and he's like, "I'm gonna get out of here." That's
Oh,
great.
I'm really
Great
tall.
bits.
Actually, it's funny. That was actually a turning point for me because I was like, okay. I was like, this is all the shticks that they make fun of in all the cartoons. And so I'm like, I knew when the guy was coming up, he was going to be a foot taller than him. I'm like, okay, I know what's going to happen to that.
Right.
But then after that point, then like I felt like it finally picked up to like I was in after that. But that I remember him looking at the statue. I'm like, he's sure taking a long time looking at a statue. And I think that statue is over 16, so it's very confusing. Ooh, gotcha, Charlie.
So I thought it was funny, but it was dragged out too long. And then that leading into him seeing the blind girl for the first time. I apologize to the blind girl. That's your name. You don't have a real name. Maybe they called her Flower Girl. I don't know. But
good point. What was her name?
It felt
chick.
It felt
blind girl. That's
weird going from him creeping out on this statue to pining after a real woman who then was blind. And then I was like a little worried for her.
A blind girl is her name.
Yeah.
A blind girl.
In the
I think it's a blind girl.
Set up the relationship in a weird way to me.
Not the.
That I was
Probably there's more than
uncomfortable
one.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah, a blind girl. So
That
put me off.
Yeah. Can I point out the symbolism for Charlie Chaplin in the casting of her in this the
You can point out whatever you want.
Yeah, the deep dive.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's partly loosely autobiographical.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. I agree. Yeah.
So the blind girl is his mother.
Yes.
And the alcoholic millionaire is his father.
Yep.
Right.
And so after reading his story, which I felt like was a better Wikipedia page than the movie Wikipedia page.
Oh my
Because I
gosh.
was like so into it.
The
Oh man.
Charlie Chaplin Wikipedia page was
Whoever wrote that
amazing.
should finish the book.
Yeah, it
because
was so
I
good.
really liked it. I really did.
For real. I was
well
like,
done.
this is oh
Well
my
done.
goodness. Like I was going through all the videos and all the things and I'm like, this is so entertaining.
The best one that I've read so far, was that one. But
I've read biographies that aren't that good. That was like literally one of the better ones.
But it was interesting to me. It kind of gave it a little more dimension, having seen the movie already, knowing like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, he had a off and on insane mom and alcoholic.
One of bipolar dad, apparently.
Yeah, in and out alcoholic dad who was either there or wasn't.
Yeah.
Makes a little more sense.
It makes
the
a
millionaire
lot more
remembered him or
sense.
didn't remember.
It's like, that's so awful. Because then it feels terrible. Oh. Instead of him just being like this humorous thing, it's like, oh, that was your life.
No, it totally made me like it more.
Well, but then what are we learning? Like, he's pining after his mother, and he wants to be friends with
He
his
wanted
dad.
her to be.
Freud.
He wanted her to be
Very
well.
Freud.
He wanted her to be well.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Sure,
about.
but he also was like into her. So gets a little weird.
Speaking of Back to the Future. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get crazy. Oh, that's the other thing I think with the movie that didn't like totally work for me was just some of the gags didn't like totally pay off. Like when he's, invited back to the first time with the millionaire and he keeps trying to pour him a drink and then he's just pouring it down his pants.
I was loving that. I was thinking how
There's
cold
so
it
many
was.
bottles wasted.
And I think it was like funny, but I was like, and then this happens because of it. But it was like nothing happened. It's just pants were full of alcohol.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this. So in the old days of the USSR or Russia, the stories were that the coal miners would fill their boots with vodka because then you wouldn't have it on your breath and the skin would absorb it. So you're basically drunk at work. So I literally was thinking about that the whole time when they're pouring
real?
the
He's
scotch.
Does
just
that
getting
really
more
work?
drunk through his pants.
You can just fill your boots with alcohol.
Fill your
and
boots
get
with
drunk.
alcohol. You could try it. I don't know next time because
Do you have like little cuts or something? I don't understand.
how much?
doesn't-
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I haven't
You
actually.
get drunk
when you-
by filling your boots with alcohol.
When you
do
say
I?
that
Is this a
story, I
personal
thought-
question?
I thought the feet would keep the alcohol warm, and then you could drink it later.
No.
I thought that doesn't sound good, but
No.
you went a different way.
I did.
I'm gonna need to research team. Can you?
How much time does it take? Because he was getting like 2 bottles poured down his pants, and he hadn't really drank any yet.
It was super
but then
wasteful.
he like sniffed it or took a tiny little sip, and then he was wasted.
Yeah,
So
he
it's like-
was wasted
Yeah,
fast.
wasted quick.
So I'm
Real
like,
lightweight.
I'm pretty sure it was the alcohol down the pants that got him drunk. I'm gonna say that's what the director was
The
thinking.
absorption
Yeah,
in the
obviously.
pants.
Like
Yeah.
it just
He's just getting drunk.
just makes sense, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, guys,
So
what?
anyway,
Mystery
you know,
solved.
You're welcome.
it just didn't all hit. But I was impressed again with kind of my reaction, like seeing that he was the composer of the movie. I
First
thought, like,
time.
oh, that's legit.
But
Yeah.
That's pretty legit.
did you hear how he did it
Did I
though?
love the music?
Director,
no, but
writer,
Yeah.
producer,
Still impressive.
star,
And he-
edited music.
And he composed a lot of his music after that as well, like in later movies
Yeah.
when he got kicked out of the U.S.
When he had nothing to
And-
do but hang out.
And I mean, and like I think it was well made, certainly for the time. It just
Sure.
this just didn't hit in the same way that I think. Again,
Man,
it's been a long time since I watched The Great Dictator.
Can't believe
I feel like
I'm
that one was just
defending
better.
Charlie Chaplin to you.
I
two.
also think it was
You don't have to
impressive
defend him.
that the movie was commercially successful,
Oh,
despite
killed.
the fact that talkies were fully in. I mean,
Yeah, no, that
the
was
fact that people
amazing.
still wanted to see him enough and paid the money to watch something that where you weren't hearing the words.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
That's-
good.
Although I think he
That's really
started
impressive.
making the movie right when, I mean, before talkies or at the same time as
Same
talkies
time.
came
He
out.
started in
release-
1928,
Yeah.
but then his mom died. He was distraught. There's a
Had
bunch
some
of
stuff.
stuff going on. He fired an actor. He fired an actress. Rehired the actress. It was a rough production.
That was the other thing that was insane to me that I read. And I think it was for this movie. He had to keep everyone on like retainer basically
Yeah.
for the entire shoot because he just kept going like, "Oh, we should keep filming more stuff." And I thought that is nutty.
Terrible.
People were basically on the hook for 3 years.
Yeah. So
I was like, when did you film these Newsies? Because they aged up, I'm sure.
They did actually. I bet they filmed it chronologically because they seemed way older in the end. Now that you say that,
At the end when
when they're blowing
We did
Sweetwads.
get. I mean, you could argue, he'd been in prison for an
Oh
undetermined
yeah,
amount
that's
of
true
time.
too. Well, it worked out good because
They
the
had
kids.
aged up.
Yeah, it's a
Literally.
He filmed it
some
basically like
months
Boy.
later. Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing like, no, we got to be true to time. So I'm going to go to prison,
Yep.
and you kids are going to be older, and that will show everyone.
Let's talk about the stunts, and it's hard after Buster Keaton because Buster Keaton's are so dynamic. Buster Keaton's like 100, and that's not fair. But Charlie Chapman's like a solid 85. Like he's still maybe even 92. You know what I mean? Like there's no one who does it better than Chaplin except for Buster Keaton.
And for as long as Charlie Chaplin did.
There's so many things that Charlie Chaplin did that you don't think that it's just part of lore.
Yeah, the dancing.
The
roles
dancing,
and-
the smoothness, and even like that. I was thinking how hard it would be to do that part with the sword on the back.
That was
That's
a little
like a-
dicey. I did
that's
think that was like kind
kinda
of
tough.
amazing.
And so-
Reinforced.
Yeah, so
that
I still
stance to
think
make that work.
those scenes, and of course the boxing scene was not like I think he rehearsed for like 2 weeks before that, or he did a ton of rehearsing, and then they took a ton of time to shoot that.
That was great.
and it was so good, so much fun. And it was
Also, that was almost one in a lot of those scenes. It was almost one shot for a lot of it.
so good.
So it was pretty phenomenal.
So good. Like, and it's all, I just realized dancing is so important to all stunt work, which is what they say, like, even for the new guys, like Chris Evans apparently was a great dancer, which is why he's really good for doing his own stunts and like the Captain America. And Charlie Chaplin is basically a dancer.
Well, it's choreography.
Yeah,
right?
exactly
Yeah.
right.
You have to be able to learn choreography.
Got to know the beats, baby.
I totally found myself interested in the fact that the boxing ring did not have the flexible ropes, that still had the, there wasn't a lot of bounce back.
Oh, right. Like WWF.
or any ring at this point. I mean, any boxing.
I did think it was funny he had to hold the ropes for his like cornermen as opposed to like them holding the ropes.
That was
for the boxers.
hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm glad you pointed that out because I'm
there
like,
was
why?
there were some inconsistencies from the time that were like,
And
oh,
he
that
did like a
doesn't
super
happen.
punch a couple times.
Yeah, I did.
I thought,
Those
you
are
know,
great.
I thought he
Wind
had
up.
him, you know, until the KO. I thought he had that guy.
I can't believe they made him. Yeah, because I was like, oh, he can. Oh, he's doing it. Oh, we're going there. Okay, this is Rocky. I get it. It's not
Yeah,
Rocky.
no.
He got knocked out. Smokey.
And again, I don't want to take away from how phenomenal some of the stuff in the movie is. But
Oh,
it just, in comparison to Buster,
It wasn't as
just
good
didn't
start
have-
to finish.
yeah, it just had
fluid.
moments where I was looking at like, how much longer is this movie? Oh my gosh, I'm only 45 minutes in.
Oh, that's
And I
so
think really
funny.
it was to me, if you took out all of the Flower Girl stuff, I would have enjoyed it more. I was not into.
You are the worst.
Like, people-
You hate
I know,
relationships.
the
I have
Flower
no-
Girl stuff.
I have
You have
no
no
heart.
hearts.
I guess.
Does your
And she
wife
was-
know about
she
this?
was fine. She did great. I shouldn't say she was fine. She did great, but like I didn't enjoy.
Does she know you're dead?
She's fine. You're fine.
I didn't.
Do you
enjoy,
tell your kids the same thing? No, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, you're fine. You don't have my love.
There are no feelings.
If you weren't here, it'd probably be just as
yeah.
good.
You have no love to give, so
Yeah.
don't worry about it.
You all get equal amounts of nothing from me.
I just found the engine of the movie being that Flower Girl. It didn't happen early enough. It felt like, okay, now we're back, and he's looking in her window, being a real creep again.
He goes
It
back,
just-
sees that she gets her sight, and she recognizes him and doesn't care that he's a tramp. This is a
Which was
magical
nice.
moment.
But the acting in his
You
end, where he's got
dark.
the rose in his teeth, and he's like, tee hee hee.
I didn't love that. I didn't love that.
He's nervous.
She was good.
like,
She was good.
he's like, how's this gonna play out? She's
we're
gonna
peeking. I gotta
recognize
turn
me.
this down.
Will she
You
recognize
know
me? If she recognizes me, is she gonna be like, get this tramp out of my face?
It was.
No, she
Yeah.
didn't. It was charming.
I
also like
love that scene,
charming.
except for this.
Well, yeah.
Other than the biting
That
the
was a
knuckle.
little
little teeth.
overacted.
But
That was
every
a little-
other part of it, I thought was great.
Also, go back 2 minutes. She's laughing hysterically at this poor bum
Getting
picked
spit-wadded.
on by street toughs.
Yeah.
She's like, look at this lesser man.
'Cause
out
it was
there getting
funny.
picked on.
It's not okay. I mean, he's not getting
He's
bullied.
getting people spitting on him. He was getting bullied.
Just
he was
kids.
legit getting bullied.
By kids, I
And
guess.
she thought it was hilarious.
She's just having a good time. You gotta laugh so you
Right,
don't
at
cry.
the expense
Those
of
little
people
scams.
falling on hard
So-
times.
oh my god.
Do you see someone laughing at a
gosh.
bum on the street?
Oh,
He's not a good person, you know? Once she got eyesight,
You're the worst.
she was highfalutin, right? Oh, I see what's going on now. I'm better than all of you.
Look at you outside the window of my shop.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad I'm not poor like him. You were just
Yeah.
poor.
You know,
But now look at my flower shop.
back to Wikipedia. Let me just bring you back down here.
Yeah, let's get. But yeah, get me out of this hole I'm digging.
Your negative,
Oh my
negative
gosh.
rant.
Pat does not.
All these
So,
Chaplinites are gonna come after me.
The psychologist that said this movie is based on his life loosely also pointed out that like the locations, even it's not just that he was comparing the girl to his mom and the alcoholic millionaire to his father, but also there was like scenes in the film that mimicked places from his childhood, like where the statue is in the beginning of the film. So that makes it a little more sense that he would have put that scene in there, is because it's St. Mark's. And then also the waterfront where the guy was trying to kill himself, and the in and out of the river is the Thames where he grew up. And
Yeah.
so there's locations that are not exactly the same, but do mimic places where he grew up, part of his childhood. Just saying, there's some depth here, Pat.
Yeah, and people don't gotta be like a Disney.
Which is fine.
You don't have to be a Disney princess
It's
to not laugh at something that's funny.
It's
You heartless man.
It's unwelcome, but it's allowed.
Yeah, I mean, you want to put that in your movie, great.
I mean-
but is it compelling? I don't know.
Do you buy these
don't know.
people as... Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Pat! I can't believe you're a hater. Oh, so much good
I don't
movie.
think I'm a hater. Again,
I would have put
think I like
Seth as the
Yeah,
guy.
I can't believe I'm the one who likes this movie the most out of the three of us.
Yeah,
This is
I am a
very
little shocked.
confusing.
I would probably
This is
movie
very
mixes-
about the Great
confusing.
Dictator.
This movie mixes it up for me.
For me, I was just thinking. I went in thinking it's all going to be cliche. I'm not going to enjoy this. I'm going to fall asleep a bunch, and maybe because we just exposed ourselves to
Maybe you
Nosferatu. No, I definitely did
But
not.
not just.
No, not just. We've
It's
exposed
been a minute.
Seven Samurai, Breathless. We've done a lot of movies that like you have to kind of be like, oh, what am I watching right now? Oh, there we go. But this one, I was expecting to, do the usual. Okay, it's take a couple times for me to get actually committed to this.
Yeah, I'm going
and
to fall
then-
asleep in the first half.
But
and
no,
I'm gonna
I
have
was
to
like,
watch it
oh,
again later.
oh, here we go. Okay. Oh man, I gotta get the kids. Apparently, they've been crying for 7 hours. I should probably pause this silent film that I was totally into. Like I had that moment where like I had to think. I'm like, I don't want to pause it because I want to just figure out how it ends. And that's so. Who knew?
That's good.
Well, you guys, I mean, I think I'm in the minority, certainly on the movie snob side. Orson Welles, this is one of his favorite movies. Stanley Kubrick cites it as one of his favorites. Woody Allen says it's Chaplin's best. Like, there's a bunch of snobby
Let's not bring
things.
Woody into it, all right?
Well, and
Well,
Chaplin
related.
liked it.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, it's true. It's
you know,
actually touche. It's
Chaplin liked
there's a
it
through
too.
line.
I think Woody Allen's actually probably like, I like Charlie Chaplin's choice of lifestyle.
Chaplin-
I mean, I
yeah.
like City Lights is what I
Yeah.
meant to say.
And Chaplin thought
Yeah.
it was one of the best he did too.
Was it as good
Georgia shook.
as The General?
Not to me, but it was good.
It was so good. I
honestly don't think
What do you
I've
think-
watched a Charlie Chaplin movie though.
yeah, that's the other thing
Before
too.
this.
This is the first
I
Charlie
wanna watch The
Chaplin
Dictator
movie
now.
I've ever seen.
Well, I've seen one other one.
Well, the snob.
But it wasn't silent. It was him talking. And
Right.
the cool
Well,
thing about
and it
that
wasn't The
movie,
Tramp.
yeah, he wasn't the tramp.
You
And
know?
he was not the tramp.
But he
was
looked
not the
very
tramp.
similar.
Same mustache though.
Which, actually, speaking of this point,
Maybe that bothered me.
which
The eyebrows and the mustache.
Hitler supposedly, and someone can fact check me on the internet if they want, he grew that little mustache to make himself more likable, like Charlie Chaplin. Yes.
No,
Let's-
that's great.
That would be really cool if you didn't just pull that out of your rear.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, who's to say? But
Research team.
I'm pretty sure I read something like that.
60% of the
But-
time, I research every time.
Listener, if
Well,
you
I
ever
think
come,
was, potentially
I would like you to
an
check
impetus.
this.
Yeah, an impetus for him to do the Great Dictator.
That would be-
Lampoon Hitler.
That would be pretty cool.
So
Yeah, and apparently,
anyway, don't hold me to that. But
rumor is Hitler actually saw The Great Dictator as well.
yeah,
I'm
he's-
sure he
also
did.
Guillermo del Toro, one of his favorite films.
Yeah.
So many people love this movie, and again, it was fine. And for the era,
Oh my gosh.
I mean, in a way, like amazing.
Except for the feelings and the emotions.
Yeah, except for the
Except
except
it
for the
was
blind
so
girl.
saccharine.
What the heck?
So what's funny to me, in context, I liked when he's against the big boxer and he's doing his little sweet guy, like, I'm just a little tramp. That was, to me, like a good contrast of like, oh boy, this isn't going to go well, right? It's setting us up as the audience. This isn't going to go well.
He is a
When he's
cartoonist.
doing
He
that
likes the
with-
cartoon part.
When he's doing that with the love interest,
because he didn't
I'm
fall off a
like-
cliff.
this is too much. Yeah, there was no anvils. No one dropped a piano.
Would it have been better
Where are
if
the
there was a
giant
cinder block tied to
slingshots?
the guy's leg when he jumped in the river?
I didn't see Acme printed on
They
anything.
did have a rock.
There was a rock.
There was a rock.
What was
I did
it?
enjoy
Wasn't
that
good
part.
enough for you.
Yeah.
No, that again was great. It was kind of too sweet for me. And I'm too hardened a full heart.
I
for
feel
this,
like I'm in
guess.
the middle of this one because I did like it. I enjoyed the symbolism. The whole like statue at the beginning was called Peace and Prosperity, and that's definitely
Yeah.
says something about what the tramp's going
What
through
does
in
it
life.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean-
he doesn't have peace and prosperity, and neither does his blind friend,
Okay, let's
blind young girlfriend.
the tramp. The tramp. This is the part that's so amazing. Charlie Chaplin, dad was an alcoholic. He grew up in poverty, and he gets to fame by playing a drunk person.
Not just poverty, workhouse poverty.
Oh yeah, like the worst. And then he gets to fame by playing a drunk man when he's young, like a drunk old man. That's literally what got him the gig in Hollywood, right? Mm-hmm. But then he's playing a poor person when he's the richest person on freaking earth next to like two other people.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like this weird, like,
Oh yeah, the
alternative
studio
life.
contracts he kept getting. That was just phenomenal.
absurd.
And then enough to go, oh, I'm just going to make my own company with these other super rich people.
United Artists.
UA, baby.
It's a
huge shout out.
that amazing story. Just the fact those guys all collaborated to make it was very cool.
Yeah.
And then it makes me think about him telling Buster Keaton not to freaking go to the studio. Because he knows. Like, it's like, Buster, you should have listened to Charlie. He knows, man.
Yeah, he did put him in a movie or two later.
Yeah,
on,
he had a
which was nice.
cameo.
Yeah, that's true.
It wasn't like a hate.
Oh,
thing.
the other thing, which I had no clue going into this, and I guess
please
maybe
tell
we're
me.
coming up on takeaways. Because I'm so American and everything should be American then, I assume Charlie Chaplin was American.
Yes, I'm so glad you said this. And which is funny, you've seen The Great Dictator where he has a British accent.
But like, to me, I grew up with everybody seemingly putting on a British accent. To be funny.
That doesn't mean anything.
That's fair. Now it's a bunch of British actors putting on American accents. But when we were growing up, it was a bunch of American accents trying to do British accents.
That's how you're German
Little bit of both.
or any other nationality in the world.
You're
British.
British,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, the
Bad
accent
guys.
the accuracy of the accent was never important.
Because, Russians sound like Scottish James Bond to me, based off Hunt for Red October. So what do I know
that's
about
right.
It's true. So confusing.
Which is weird, 'cause I
Germans?
feel like
The
Bond
Germans.
fought the Germans a lot, too. Or the Russians, or the
So
Soviet.
anyway,
Yeah.
it was kind of an interesting, like,
Oh, no,
I
that
didn't
was
realize
crazy.
he, because he did a ton of his work in America.
He got
That's
big.
where-
He literally started. First film was in America. He got signed by Hollywood.
Yeah,
Taking
Right.
him off
Of
the
course, when
stage.
you're
He
not
wasn't-
talking,
If we're going back to that era, we're not talking about people who had to flee because they, were avoiding things.
Exactly right. It's and you also have silent films, so it doesn't matter. And it's just. But when I did the exact same thing, I literally looked at it and it said Sir Charlie Chaplin, and I was like, I'm sorry, I thought you had to be British to be Sir.
Oh,
and then I was like,
he was knighted.
I was
Did
like,
I not notice he was
what
knighted?
the crap? I was like, how did I miss that?
Well done.
So
All over
that's when
IMDb,
I was
Sir
really
Charles.
confused. That's Sir. Oh, look at that, Sir Charles.
Sir.
Charles.
They should have a king named
Sir
that.
Charles in charge. Also, the other thing to tie back to our Buster Keaton, apparently he developed the look of the tramp using a pair of like Fatty Arbuckle's pants.
Yes.
And like I forget where the ensemble all came from, but I believe Fatty Arbuckle supplied the pants.
Oh, Fatty
essentially for the
Arbuckle.
tramp.
Had he not murdered someone,
Well,
he really would have
he should have just slept with minors like Charlie.
We all
been a little more
have
famous.
things.
You make a few mistakes.
Is Buster Keaton like the patron saint of old movie stars? Like, he's a saint compared to everyone else back
Well,
then.
yeah. He wasn't quite as
Yeah,
infamous.
he just was bad at business, I guess.
Yeah, he just
Right?
yeah. Charlie's like
He
the
was
opposite of him.
very good in his job, but not very good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Phenomenal.
Business, personal.
Yeah, Charlie Chaplin like made bank even when he got kicked out of Hollywood. He had enough money; it didn't matter.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'll just go make. Films
He even
over
fought
here.
off, basically being blacklisted for
Yeah.
being a
Yeah, he
Yeah.
overcame that.
communist sympathizer. Yeah. So,
Pretty
yeah,
impressive. Yeah,
good for him.
we talked about this already, but this is back when he did all the things. We talked about him being the composer, the director, the actor, and the editor. Like he's in there telling the editor what to do as well. Like that's the other crazy thing too.
It is, yeah. The Renaissance man nature of both of these guys is insane to me. Like,
But it's also there was no other choice back then because that's the other thing too. It's like literally it's a new thing.
That's
that
true.
or
People
just
are
with-
evolving,
So
like
having,
a millennial.
Yeah,
He was a millennial.
exennial.
yeah,
He was an
Exennial.
exennial.
well, I think, and both of them really are such perfectionists. They didn't want any control taken away, and so they had to learn how to do these jobs.
I am so interested. The friendships that were in Hollywood back then are so. I know there are movies where they talk about it, but like Einstein was like good friends with Charlie Chaplin, and
Oh, yeah.
like Douglas Fairbanks
Winston
was
Churchill.
good. Yeah, and then
Stop by during the making of this movie. It's
Yeah.
all pretty crazy.
it's all pretty crazy. It does make you think like, okay, if you're famous and I guess you just
Yeah.
all hang out.
Timelines kind of make more sense when you realize that these people were living in the same world at the same time.
That's the Churchill one really makes it like really real. And of course, J. Edgar Hoover.
I'm going to throw out some other anecdote that I can't verify. I believe
All right, Pat, bringing the heat.
Chaplin and Churchill were talking about kind of Germany at the time.
Oh.
And so apparently they were talking, and Churchill at the time was like, no, like, this is serious stuff. Like, this Hitler thing is no good. Which I thought was just kind of an interesting, weird tidbit. Like, that Charlie Chaplin and Winston Churchill were talking about the danger of Hitler and Nazi Germany.
Imminent war.
So
Yeah.
then maybe Churchill's the one who maybe influenced Charlie to make a movie making fun of the
Ooh, yeah, the great dictator, yeah. Could be.
So that would have meant King George would have knighted him.
I mean, I don't think he got knighted till 75 or something.
Way late.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Like when he
So
won his
Liz-
Oscar.
So
he won his
Elizabeth
Oscar,
did it.
got
Yeah.
knighted.
Pity knighting.
Yeah.
I might be mixing those things up.
I'd be okay with being pity knighted. Shoot.
Yeah, knighting is knighting.
1975,
Oh, really? Is that the same year he got the Oscar as well?
he got an honorary Academy Award in 1972,
Oh,
and then I think he got a legit Oscar for composing the year after,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is pretty nutty. Anyway,
And then he died in 77.
Yep,
Is that right?
That's right.
what do you guys? I mean, I don't know. What influence do you guys feel this movie specifically, or Charlie Chaplin had on stuff you guys watched
He was
today?
so huge. Like I couldn't get over like the persona of Charlie Chaplin as a 2023 like 41-year-old man thinking about everyone knows his face still.
16-year-olds. No.
Everyone still could see Charlie Chaplin was the biggest thing 100 years ago, and it lives on because of his look. And people know kind of what he is, even without seeing anything he does. He was massive then. He's massive today. He's a Marilyn Monroe. He's a
Jim Carrey. That's who I would compare him to.
hope. Maybe if Jim Carrey could hope to be that, but
But I mean, like the character acting,
Sure.
the having parts in, dramatic, comedic
right.
pieces of all of the stuff, the longevity.
I hope Jim Carrey gets recognized like Charlie Chaplin. But not that level though, because Charlie Chaplin was the biggest thing. Like
right.
Well,
It's-
can you imagine? I mean, to me, the closest thing we have in a lot of ways is like Mr. Bean, right? The
Right.
idea of there's this guy who's he's Mr. Bean, and you just put him in a bunch
And
of
he
stuff.
doesn't
like
have
the
to
Tramp.
have. Yeah.
I literally thought you were gonna say Brad Pitt. I'm not gonna lie. The only close thing we have
No,
is
no,
Brad
no.
Pitt.
Mr. Brad
Mr.
Pitt.
Brad Pitt. But like, the
Mr.
idea
Bean.
of a
Sir Brad
character-
Pitt.
We need a sir in America. Maybe we'll
It's
call it
gonna
like
happen at some
howdy, like some sort of
Well,
like
they
cowboy.
get some
The
award,
Kennedy-
but it
the
doesn't
Kennedy
change their
honors.
name. It
Kennedy
doesn't
honors.
change
That's
their name.
dumb.
The Kennedy Center. Or
They should
whatever.
have like
Presidential honor.
cowboy or something that's very Americana,
Yeah,
like
something cool.
something cool. Patriot,
Sheriff.
sheriff. Oh, they made Elvis an honorary sheriff. They could make Brad Pitt one. Come on, Will Ferrell should be a sheriff. Sheriff Will Ferrell. I could see that.
But I think it definitely. I mean, it opened a lot of doors. He was funny. He was dramatic. He was a director, composer, producer. I think he kind of just let everybody know that you can do all the things and come from nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, he was definitely the like rags to riches in
He's
real
the
life
archetype
story.
for a movie star. Like he is what movie stars are. There was nothing like him before, and everything has been kind of a copy of.
Yeah.
Like I think when I watched this movie, I realized I'm like, oh, he was really good. He commanded the stage, and he comes at it from a humble position,
Right.
Which is even more endearing.
Workhouse
Yes.
to being like the highest
But
paid
even
person
the position-
making the most expensive movies.
Right, but also just the character is a tramp. He's literally playing a poor person,
Yeah.
and that's what making him big. He's not playing Ocean's 11, Brad Pitt, George Clooney. He's playing this poor person his whole career, and it's making him so endearing. And it's literally you go to Hollywood places, and it's Marilyn Monroe, James Dean, and Charlie Chaplin. Still to this day, like it's the normal thing.
Well,
and it's
yeah, like-
crazy.
I mean, how much we hadn't watched anything besides clips on Turner Classic Movies or something growing up, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
Right.
But we all knew who Charlie Chaplin was basically our whole lives.
Oh, absolutely.
And the waddle walk, and maybe that was from cartoons,
The
or
hat,
maybe
the
that was from
mustache, the pants.
shows
but not
being on
Buster
their parents were watching.
Douglas. We knew
Keaton.
Charlie Chaplin. Oh, Buster Douglas. I did it. Dang it. I went the whole
You were
podcast.
joking.
I did it so well. I have been
you were
doing.
joking right there.
You did so good, Seth. It was so good.
I wish I meant to. I literally
so
wish I
good.
meant to,
Intentional
but it
to
was
say
not.
Douglas instead of
I was
Keaton.
like, okay, it's Douglas, not Keaton. No, it's not.
No.
Dang it.
I think you're getting there's must
Douglas
be a, Michael
Fairbanks.
Keaton, Michael Douglas.
Douglas
Okay,
Fairbanks.
but Douglas Fairbanks, I know the name, but I did not recognize the actor because I couldn't tell you who he was in a crowd of actors from back then. I could tell you who Audrey Hepburn is. I could tell you who James Dean was, but I could not
yeah.
tell you who
I
Douglas
agree.
Fairbanks was.
He's just Joe Schmo.
Yeah,
But
I knew,
anyway.
but
Joe Schmo that made the.
I mean, I guess the
company.
real test would be we get some 21-year-old.
Who are all the guys that developed United Artists? Research
Like
team.
Douglas Fairbanks.
Yeah.
The
And,
Maybe that's why that's why I'm wondering if it keeps popping into your head.
Lady McLady. What is her name?
Well,
Miss
oh,
Actress Face.
the Douglas Fairbanks' ex-wife, right?
Mary Pickford.
Mary Pickford. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly right. Yeah, it's because
And D.W. Griffith.
D.W. Griffith. There we go. Because Mary Pickford and Douglas were married for a while.
She was great.
Lovely.
So
Yeah,
good.
Mary. I would definitely recommend. This seems like probably peak Chaplin silent era, in quotes. Worth watching. Again, I do see a lot of foundational performance and
Yeah.
the comedy. It all does come through. It just, for me, it's not as good as some other things I've seen. I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
I think
okay.
it speaks to societal stuff. I think it's cool that, the leads happen to be a blind girl and a tramp. And I think people found that endearing at the time. And
And a suicidal alcoholic millionaire.
sure, that makes him funny, not too pathetic, but
A little drunk driving
he's
going on.
and he's benevolent. It all works out because of his
I did
throwing
like
his
that,
money
too.
around.
He's careful with your driving. I'm driving. I did enjoy
That was a good line.
quite a bit.
That was a good
That
line.
was good.
Oh, that's
There's some. That's the thing. This movie has some good stuff. It's got some highlights.
Yeah.
I just felt like the general was start to finish very fluid. Kept you going the
Yeah, a
whole
little
time.
stronger. A little stronger.
It's so
But they're
funny
both good.
because maybe
This has more of a story. The general,
Yes.
I don't care about the story of the general.
And
in a
that's
lot of
what's
ways, but
confusing
it
me
just
about this conversation. Like,
wrapped me
I
up.
feel like the general is nothing but amazing visuals the whole time, but the story, like gags, jokes, like it moves quicker on.
I know. It surprises me that I liked one over the other, and
I mean,
but I still stick. I mean, for some reason, the
Well-
general was better for me this time.
well, Buster
Sorry.
Keaton is
No offense, Charlie.
amazing, and I feel like because of like recent artists like Jackie Chan, we're more of a Buster Keaton era than a Charlie Chaplin era right now because of literally Asian influence, which is awesome. But Charlie Chaplin is
Well, and
like
the innovation and the
camera movements, all of it.
Yeah,
Like there's all these
yeah,
things,
yeah.
like as Pat said, like there's a lot of things that we're just used to now. So without it, it feels very unusual. Like
Well, yeah, like all the Marvel movies and another Avatar that was just decades in the making, and you
which
know,
apparently broke a bunch of records, but I don't know anyone who saw it. Do you know anyone who's? I assume you still know someone.
not
who's,
that many people.
No,
I
but
believe
that
it's
many
on.
people.
It's on Disney Plus now. Yeah, we can
no,
watch
it's
it.
not. Is
Can
it?
we watch it?
No.
I think we can
I
stream
think
it.
in some places it is on Disney Plus. I
Or
Really?
or
I do.
Amazon?
I think what's
we can
interesting
watch
is
it.
That's so funny.
I think Buster Keaton maybe has a stronger live action influence.
Yeah.
But I think Charlie Chaplin has stayed as a animated influence, right? Like a lot of the types of jokes and setups that worked in this movie would work in a cartoon really well.
Well, and he
100%.
started. He started
Translate.
sooner and ended way later, and just
Yeah.
continued to influence all the way.
Do you think? Pat, you're the one who can answer this question. Would you suggest?
I want to answer the question.
City Lights, Mariah. You're going to
I'm the
answer
only
yours.
one.
City Lights or The Great Dictator for for quote unquote essential Charlie Chaplin viewing.
Oof.
You
I
have
don't think
3 seconds.
I don't
3.
think I have the data. I feel like for
2.
essential, like this gets into the Hitchcock of it. You got to watch probably both of them.
Knee
You gotta
jerk
watch
reaction.
A talkie. You got to watch a talkie version, and you got to watch something that is the train.
Okay, sure,
Right.
sure.
I think both of those are foundational Chaplin.
You know what I wanted to do is I wanted to watch the Chaplin movie that came out the same year as The General, just to kind of see what they were both doing at the same time. Because that would have been kind of an interesting, like, what are they both doing? But yeah. But I like this one because it's like Charlie Chaplin's like, oh yeah, you guys are doing talkies, not me, and I'm still gonna kill it.
Yeah,
And
I
he
liked
did.
that it was successful
Pretty
despite
boss.
the fact that it wasn't hip to do it.
He's pretty gangster about that, and he's. I mean, other than his, a little predatory on younger women. Other than that,
Questionable.
He's pretty solid in like the filmmaking, like just blazing a trail both ways, like saying, no, you don't have to do it this way just because everyone's doing it, or I'm going to change the way everyone does it because I'm that good. So it's kind of both end. He's a trailblazer and also like no, I just believe in what I believe in. So down with talkies, am I right? Talkies will never make it.
Boo.
Just like Chaplin said.
We don't need to hear what you say. Wah, wah, wah.
I still think people should watch it. If you want to be a movie snob, it's a great one to watch. And again, like, don't take just my word for it.
Because your word's
There's far
wrong.
better
You're
creators,
wrong. You're not even
far
close.
better
I can't believe you don't like this movie.
I like this movie. I didn't say I don't like it. I just said it was a little bit more.
Disappointing. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed, Pat.
I'll take
Okay. We should have like a movie snob rating, like a 1 to 10.
This one was a champagne for me.
Champagne. This one was.
Doesn't have to be a perfect champagne.
Oh, it's got to be. Yeah. No,
It's going to give you a headache eventually. But
but it was. Yeah, champagne's a good one, or whatever that bottle was they poured on his crotch.
yeah, I think it was champagne.
I asked an AI what type of drink this movie would be, and it's at a perfect Manhattan.
Oh,
I think it's a good description because
that would be good.
I don't love a Manhattan, right? But I know a lot of people do, and so I think that's maybe an appropriate
Nice.
ranking alcohol wise.
A Maker's Mark Manhattan. Up.
Oh, Maker's Mark, nice. I'd go a different alcohol, but I'd be down for Manhattan for sure.
Yeah, a Manhattan would be good.
Yeah.
But also champagne out of a brown paper bag.
Out of a brown paper bag is pretty legit. And
out of your pants.
Or out of my pocket.
If it's not on my crotch, it doesn't count.
Chest pocket. That was a good
bit. A lot of good gags. We should have a gag counter. We're running a little late. That's okay. We've run late on every single podcast. Let's go through some of all of our movies, just so we have a reference of what is a good or bad movie snob. Like, so it's 1 to 10. 10 is like essential snobbiness. 1 is like, honestly, you could watch a better version and be a better snob. Okay. So I would say Citizen Kane would be a 10 because it's like it's on all the lists, right? Seven Samurai, it's got to be a 9 or a 10. It's got to be up there. One of those ones that's on there. Magnificent Seven, maybe a 6 or 7, just because.
Only because it's just interchangeable. It's interchangeable.
I think you could drop that lower.
Yeah, maybe lower.
Snob perspective.
Exactly right.
Because it's not the original.
Exactly right. So you could drop that pretty low, and then of course. Like, for example, Fern Gully is obviously a 10 and Avatar is a 1 because it's the same movie.
Or Pocahontas. Pocahontas is in the middle of them. Yeah.
So let's go with that. So what level is this for movie snobdom?
It is it's a must watch. So I'd put it at a 7.
7.
6 or 7. Yeah, 7. I say 7.
Nice.
But I still don't love it as much as The General. Sorry.
Okay, Pat.
I think this is the snobbier of the movies, though. So I think...
Yeah.
What? Really?
To me, but I feel like The General is more the working class version of silent
Why do we disagree on every single thing today?
I like it more. Because this to all of the things you talked about, this is like kind of more elevated. There's a story of sorts.
There's actually
for people who care.
He's trying to mix in some drama and heart, and Chaplin is, for better or worse, maybe more influential on cinema in general.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd maybe put this from a snobby perspective. I'd maybe push it to a 7. It doesn't mean I would recommend it more. It just means I think it's pretty snobby.
So funny.
It's pretty snobby.
Give me a number.
You want to be the snob?
Give me a number, Pat.
Better than The General. I said a 7. I'll give this a 7 for snobbery.
Okay, you guys are both the worst. This is a 9.5, unquestionably.
Ooh.
Not only is it at least a 9, and it has to be a 9 or higher because of how influential this was. But I would even argue The General is a more snobby choice because it wasn't.
I'd give it an 8.
Well, that's fine. I give it a 9.5.
I just want more people to watch it.
Well, I think people do because it's a more snobby choice now because Charlie Chaplin was so prolific.
Yeah.
It's required watching. The General has only recently come up.
Also, as an Oregonian,
exactly
you
right.
Need to watch
it. I think you guys are both so wrong in your assessment of this. It's embarrassing. I feel bad saying it to your face.
Everyone's got opinions. A lot of opinions.
But it's great.
You know what they say about opinions.
Yours are wrong and mine are right. That's all I remember. Oh my gosh. So I think this is a 9 and The General's a 9.5 because they're both
interesting.
Because The General's more snobby because it's not. Buster Keaton is underrated. And Charlie Chaplin, you can't ever say he's underrated. You could say he's overrated, but you can't really. Because he's so influential. So I would put this up there. I would put this up there in the movies we've watched, the top 10 easily, because we've only watched 12?
Yeah. Based on your monstrous rant, I will bump it up to an 8.
Yes.
I will give The General a 9.
There we go. I like that. I'm happy. I'm happy both ways, by the way.
I won't change anything because it's
I respect that.
And Citizen Kane for sure a 10.
Yeah, Citizen Kane's still 10.
I appreciate the passion.
Yeah, no, I think this one was so influential because if you have not seen anything Charlie Chaplin, you don't get it. and this opened my eyes to like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. I get it. It's 100 years old and it's still not terrible. Because it should be terrible as 100. As Nosferatu taught us.
The fact that both movies are still good to watch.
Oh my goodness.
Now.
Yeah, I think, not being able to say this because I haven't seen all the other Charlie Chaplins, this does seem like it's quintessential tramp Chaplin.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you care about that period of his career at all, this is the one you
or that period in movies, because it was movies. Sure. That was weak.
If you say so. I guess
that was
works.
That was very passive aggressive. Oh no, this is a good one.
Stay tuned for the video when these guys duke it out live on Saturday night.
This is why we can't be in the same room together.
Flipping him the bird.
Oh my goodness, flipping
wrestling match on Easter.
Sunday. All right. Well, this has been a great one. I've enjoyed this thoroughly. Apparently more than my other two compatriots. Jeez Louise.
I enjoyed the conversation a great deal.
Yes. I had a great time.
That was great. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you taking this journey of movie snobdom. And I think this is one of the first times we had a real disagreement, which I appreciate. So I can't wait for the next one.
I look forward to more.
Oh, it's only going to get better from here. So until next time, keep watching movies, keep listening, subscribe to your local favorite podcasts, and we'll see you next week. And by see you, I mean we'll have you listen to us next week. Okay, guys.
Or maybe we'll see you.
Maybe. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.